In 2000, the founders of a struggling startup called Netflix offered to sell their company to Blockbuster for $50 million. Blockbuster's executives could barely hold back their laughter in the meeting. 10 years later, Blockbuster filed for bankruptcy with nearly $1 billion in debt. Netflix, the company Blockbuster had dismissed as a joke, would go on to be worth hundreds of billions of dollars. Blockbuster's collapse wasn't just a story about missing one deal. It was a decade of decisions that kept choosing short-term profit over the one thing that could have saved the company. Blockbuster was founded in 1985 by David Cook, a software developer in Dallas, Texas, who wanted to bring order and convenience to video rental. Large, well-organized stores stocked with thousands of tapes. In 1987, entrepreneur Wayne Huizenga and his partners bought a controlling stake in the still small chain, then just 19 stores, for $18.5 million. Huizenga expanded it aggressively, and within 2 years, Blockbuster had grown to more than 1,000 stores. By 1994, when he sold the company to media giant Viacom for $8.4 billion, Blockbuster had grown to 3,700 stores and $4 billion in annual revenue. Viacom used Blockbuster's steady cash flow to help fund its own acquisition of Paramount Pictures. A decade later, in 2004, Viacom spun Blockbuster back off as an independent company, walking away with more than $700 million tax-free, just as the harder years were about to begin. By 2004, Blockbuster operated more than 9,000 stores, employed over 80,000 people, and brought in roughly $5 billion a year. A significant part of that revenue, close to $800 million annually, came from a single source customers hated: late fees. In 2000, Netflix was a small DVD by mail service with fewer than 300,000 subscribers, losing money every month. Nobody in Blockbuster's boardroom realized they were looking at the company that would completely reinvent how the world watched movies. Co-founders Reed Hastings and Mark Randolph flew to Dallas and pitched Blockbuster CEO John Antioco on a partnership. Netflix would run Blockbuster's online brand, and Blockbuster would buy the company outright for $50 million. Antioco called the pitch overblown .com hysteria and treated Netflix as a niche business unworthy of serious concern. According to the Netflix founders, the room stayed politely silent, but it was clear the Blockbuster executives were struggling not to laugh. Antioco has since disputed some of the details and how the Netflix founders remember that day. Neither side disputes the outcome. Blockbuster passed on the deal. By the mid-2000s, Antioco could see Netflix's subscription model chipping away at Blockbuster's business, and he tried to respond. In 2004, Blockbuster launched Total Access, a program that eliminated late fees entirely and let customers rent movies online and exchange them in stores for free. The program was expensive to run, but it worked. Blockbuster was closing in on 5 million online subscribers, the number the company projected it would need to break even against Netflix. For a brief moment, Blockbuster actually started winning. The rollout wasn't without problems of its own. In March 2005, attorneys general from 46 states and Washington, D.C. accused Blockbuster of misleading advertising over its no late fees campaign, since customers who kept a rental more than a week past due were still charged a restocking fee. Blockbuster settled for $630,000, a small price, but a bad look for the one strategy that was actually starting to work. It never got the chance to finish. In 2005, billionaire investor Carl Icahn led a proxy fight for seats on Blockbuster's board, criticizing Antioco's spending and his compensation package. Icahn won board seats and became one of Antioco's harshest internal critics, arguing that the money being poured into Total Access was undermining shareholder returns. The tension between the two men escalated for 2 years, playing out through boardroom disputes and a public pay conflict, until Antioco personally negotiated his own exit with Icahn over the phone. Antioco left Blockbuster in July 2007, walking away with a settlement of roughly $27 million, plus a bonus of $7.6 million. His replacement, James Keyes, reversed course almost immediately. Keyes raised prices for Blockbuster's online customers, slashed the marketing budget for the service, and shifted focus back toward Blockbuster's physical stores. The online subscriber growth that had nearly reached the break-even point stalled. Netflix kept growing. By 2010, Blockbuster was buried under debt it could no longer service. It wasn't the only video rental chain going under that year. Months earlier, in February 2010, Movie Gallery, the parent company of Hollywood Video, Blockbuster's other major rival, had already filed for bankruptcy and begun liquidating its stores entirely. Blockbuster's stock told the same story. Shares had peaked at $10.65 in April 2005. By January 2010, they had fallen 91% from that high, and the company was delisted from the New York Stock Exchange. By that July, the stock was trading for 18 cents a share. Years earlier, the company had taken out a loan of more than $900 million largely to fund a $5 per share dividend to shareholders, even as its core business was shrinking. By the time Blockbuster filed for bankruptcy, it had already closed 1,000 stores that year alone, and its remaining workforce of roughly 25,000 employees, down from nearly 48,000 at the start of the year, braced for it to shrink even further. On September 23, 2010, Blockbuster filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy, listing roughly $930 million in debt. Carl Icahn, the same investor whose pressure had helped push out the executive fighting hardest against Netflix, later bought up a large chunk of Blockbuster's distressed debt, trying to influence the bankruptcy proceedings. He would later call it the worst investment of his career. In April 2011, satellite TV provider Dish Network won Blockbuster's assets at bankruptcy auction for $320 million, a fraction of what the company had once been worth. By 2013, only around 300 Blockbuster stores remained. Dish announced it would close nearly all of them, shutting down the last company-owned stores and the mail rental service by early January 2014. Only one Blockbuster store remains today, in Bend, Oregon, kept alive as a novelty and a tourist attraction rather than a real business. Blockbuster's collapse is now taught in business schools, including Harvard, as one of the defining case studies of what happens when a dominant company refuses to take a smaller threat seriously. Today, Netflix serves more than 300 million subscribers in over 190 countries and is worth close to $300 billion. In 2000, Blockbuster had the chance to own Netflix outright for $50 million and laughed the offer out of the room. The company they laughed at didn't just survive, it replaced them.